Now whenever you're sticking your car together, you'll always have your fair share of teething problems. This car has 3. Ignition switch is flapping around in the breeze, and that's no big deal, I can just tighten it up. But the other one is it's not cooling down as well as I'd like in the traffic. So a lot of it's to do with the way these are set up at the front. I don't think the radiator's blocked, because when we start moving again it cools down very, very quickly, just when you're sitting there in traffic. And of course the other one is it's got an oil leak at the timing case. Now these use an axial flow type fan. In other words, air travels along or parallel to the centre axis of the fan. Now, an engineer had reported apparently that these things are aerodynamically flawed, in that they act more like a centrifugal fan in pushing the air outwards instead of behind. And I know that from revving this car in neutral, standing on the side, there's not an awful lot coming back from it. So that's a definite problem. So I'm going to change that for a different type of fan. Now you can fit an electric fan, they will fit on the front, but the only problem with that is of course I've got a transmission cooler there. The other issue is a small oil leak at the front. Now I'm going to change the timing case for a later Mark II Austin 1800 type that uses a conventional oil seal. So I've got to make a gasket for this. Yum, love my cup of tea. This is a mid-90s Ford. It's got this stupid Unos type grille here, which doesn't do an awful lot. It does let a bit of air in, but most new cars have a large scoop down the bottom. This one is sort of flared at the edges to sort of act a little bit like a funnel, if you like. Air's pushed in there and it's pushed out the back at high pressure, and you get that sort of thing here, which cool them quite well. So the 4-cylinder car has the radiator behind the bonnet locking bar, which means there's a big buffer of room here for air to get through the radiator with. Also, the Austin has a full width grille where the Wolseley doesn't. That's why it's getting a bit too warm. These are useless. And they're useless because these side vents have a mesh which acts more to slow air down, but they push directly into the horn and into the side of the radiator. There's nothing going from there into the front. And you can see the other side's exactly the same as well. But we've only got this protruded part here. There's nothing underneath. You can see down through the bottom there, there's absolutely nothing. And there's no way air can get in from underneath there. So effectively, they're acting like a funnel turn that way, which is pretty useless. BMC changed the grills on the 6-cylinder cars. They put one less slat in either side of this centre one here. The 1560, the 4-cylinder one, and 1660s use that type of grille. So really we're going to be battling to keep this cool. There is an air scoop sort of, or a something to make the air coming in through the grille channel down into the radiator, but there's nothing. A lot of that would probably gather around the sides because there's nothing there to channel it through. And if you look at the front, the top tank of the radiator, the actual cooling part of the radiator starts there and goes down to the very, very bottom. So we're going to be fighting a battle anyway to keep the thing really cool. Oops. Okay. So there it is, problem solved. Plenty of air can get to the radiator. I can drill some holes along here so air can get up from below. If only it was that easy to fix. I'll just put a little brass double-ended union, so I'll stick those together, and I'll just put these little plastic little sleeves over there so no oil comes out and no muck gets in. Radiator hoses can be a pain in the neck to get off these things. I just do it by dropping a series of quarter drive extensions with an 8mm socket on straight onto the drive of the Jubilee clip. That seal doesn't look too bad now I've got that out. Doesn't look bad at all. Still, I reckon it'd be stupid not to change it. When I first put this together and drove it around, there's a bit of oil residue there. It's nothing like it. It's a dirty rag. It's nothing like it was though. It was pooling under here, and you can see there's a few oily sweats over there. I'm going to change that. I've got another fan for it. This is teetering on stupid. We used to do Ford ones like this years ago. I'm going to use the starter motor to try and loosen it. First thing I want to do is undo the coil, lift up the battery. Nice and loose. That's what we want. This is a pain in the neck doing this. But every time you put a car together, an old car, particularly one that I know I haven't done anything to the engine on this, I just tested it. But you're bound to get teething problems of some description. Screwdriver in this one, but here we go. Okay. Hello, how are you, love? What do you got? Fish?
Chicken.
Chicken. I'm going to take this slinger off. Hello, doggy. I'm just going to take this tensioner off because I want to have a look at it against the other one I have. Now, I've taken the tensioner off. I've left that base plate there. I haven't disturbed the gasket underneath it. And I've got this other tensioner here, which looks to be in better condition. Now, to set this up, we need to sort of put it together. So it's got a locking tab I'll have to knock down, and then I'm going to use a key, an Allen key in here. Where is it? No, in there. Sorry, to lock this serrated part back, and that'll hold itself against the peg in here. And then once we've got it all loaded and on the car, I can take that plug off and release it, and that'll push up against the chain and give it the tension that it needs. A messy job. I'm just going to push that in, then I'll use this Allen key in the back to turn it in. And so that's now tensioned up. I'm just going to leave the key in there while I assemble it back on the motor. And then I can tighten these up, and that'll hold everything in place while I sort out the actual tension side of it. So take a bit of tension off that side, just to let that come out a bit further. This is the first time I've done it. I'm sort of flying blind a little bit to there. There's a bit of, but don't forget, yeah, there's oil pressure comes out of there, so that'll do. That'll be fine. So I've just got to now put this thing. We can't forget to put that in, because if we forget to put this in, oil's going to fly out there and we'll lose our oil pressure. Just pull our lock tabs over. I have to apologise for the terrible lighting on the video yesterday. I wasn't aware of it until after I watched a bit of it. Here's the tension I've changed. Just held on by 2 bolts with locking tabs. I've just got a message. And also there's the little bolt at the back, and this is where you stick your Allen key in to ratchet this piston back so you can take up slack or go forward with it. That's the little shoe that sits against the timing chain. I turned it back to get a bit of slack off. Now, timing covers, there's 2 types. Actually, no, there's probably about 6 types. This is the original one that came off this engine, and it's sort of raised probably about the same amount as the new one we're putting on, but it's very, very different on the inside because it has this felt seal sitting in its own little chamber in there. Now, there's a couple of subtle differences between this one. Of all the ones on the forums, the 6-cylinder one, I'm told this by Graham in the club, he's a very knowledgeable chap, the 6-cylinder motor B-series is the only one with this guide that he knows about. That sort of sits against the timing chain at the bottom there. Now, these very, very seldom wear, and it's only the 6s that have them. So, of all the timing covers on the forum that I've seen, I've not seen another one of those because the 6 is unique to Australia. The other difference is the slinger, and this slinger that sits on the front of the crankshaft there has quite a large lip around it, and that's designed to pretty much encase that felt seal in the chamber there. Now, from what I've read, if you put these on a more modern cover, these covers here are very flat, if I can see that, it'll chew a hole, it'll actually grind a hole around here. The slingers that they use are much shallower. If you look at the difference in those two, you can see there's a hell of a difference there. This one's actually a little bit distorted, so I've got to reshape it as best I can and give it a good clean up before I put it on. But they're the differences in the covers that I've got. This one is off an Austin 1800 Mark II, so it's got this seal in that's fitted from behind. Some of them are fit from the front. This one goes from behind, which is fine by me. It's a conventional seal, which is what I want, but it doesn't have that guide. Using my favourite stuff, Permatex, I'm just going to put this slinger on so I don't forget it. I've given it a bit of a clean and got that on. Bit of Permatex around there. I've made a gasket up. Oil jointing. It's probably cost all of about 30 cents to make that. So that's just as good as I bought one. Greased up our seal here. Just a good idea before I put anything on is to just check along the rail that none of these bolt holes are being pulled through. They use a longer type of washer to distribute load better. Alright, I've cleaned up the spigot on the back of this balancer with a bit of Scotch-Brite. Stuck grease around here. Well, you never put a seal in dry. There's grease in the seal, there's grease on here. You don't have to have so much that it just flicks off everywhere when you start it, but enough to lubricate the seal as you install the thing. There we go. So I've got the harmonic balancer all tightened up. I'm ready to put this fan back on. I'm not going to put that on. I'm going to use something different. And I said before I was using 1560 fan, I think. Anyway, I'm going to use a 1560 fan. It's a slightly different shade of yellow to what the others were, but it doesn't matter. Now, I haven't done any research on this, so I'm not doing this from knowledge. I'm doing it because I had it sitting in a box. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to put the belt on yet. I'm just going to sort of do it up with a couple of bolts just to make sure that it's going to clear everything, because it has got a more aggressive pitch on the blades, so that's why I'm sort of hoping it gives him better cooling. It looks a bit like a clown car with this different coloured fan on. I should have just painted the thing green. I don't know why I didn't. It looks ridiculous, but end of the day, I don't reckon it matters that much. So it goes that way. And it looks like it's going to clear everything. Now the thing with these fans, these blades are a full, almost 20 millimetres bigger, so the fan's actually physically bigger. And the other thing is, the 20 Brady blades, there's only about 3 inches of effective room from the base of the pitch there to the tip, and where this one is far bigger. So hopefully it works a bit better than what the other one did. It just looks a bit funny, that's all. Well, there's the almost finished job, and it does look a little bit ridiculous, but the good thing about that is it's not really visible from behind. Now, if this turns out to be disastrous, no big deal, doesn't matter, I'll try something else. But it's worth a go for the fact that I had that fan just sitting in a box here. Oh, we'll see how these repairs are going. Time for a road test. See how she went. It's nice and hot now. I've got it really hot. Went for a nice long drive. There's plenty of air coming back too. That's mad. That's really good. Well, that didn't have that before, and it blows a gale when you give it a good rev. I can feel it right back here, really pushing. So we've eradicated our oil leak. It's a bit too cool today to tell if it's going to, if we've really had a win with the cooling. But whatever the case, it's all good. Righto then. See you later.